All right, folks, what's going on here? My 2010 F150 5.4 liter 3-valve Triton was starting to grind on me. So I'll walk you through what I've done so far. So we took the wheel off, the 6 lugs there. Got that off. Then I had to take off the wheel cap. This guy from here. The lugs were 21 millimeter and this was 13 millimeters. Then, just following some tutorials online, I had to use a 13/16 ratchet to take this one off and this top one, which go onto those. And then I hit them with a hammer as per the tutorial online and was able to get it into this position. So pretty straightforward. The only difficulty I had was getting the axle out here. That took a fair bit of fighting, like the guy said. And now we're just in the position where we need to clean everything off with brake cleaner. And from there, we'll put on the new part, the new integrated wheel end. And the old one did have a vacuum seal brake. So I did diagnose all this with the Mighty Vac, from the check valve to the vacuum solenoid all the way down to the IWEs, and found that it's only the driver's side front tire that has a broken seal. And you can see here, it does have that broken seal there, so it's not able to hold the vacuum to disengage the four-wheel drive, and that's what's giving me the grinding noise. So we'll get some gloves on and start cleaning this up with brake cleaner. Alright, so we're just getting this whole area cleaned up. Just spraying some brake cleaner on this end here and on the bearing inside. Cleaning both those up, try and get in there. Getting all the old grease off. And just, honestly, this is kind of my favorite part, just getting everything cleaned up. Anywhere you think looks dirty, which is basically everywhere on a 2010 Ford. We'll wipe that all off, and then we'll throw on some wheel bearing grease, just a light coat, to get that all taken care of, and then we'll put the new part on. Alright, so just putting some grease in where the needle bearing goes. And on the teeth here, just a light coat. The rest of the grease should be supplied already on the IWE. So that'll give us enough. Alright guys, so we got this. Feel free to get in here if that makes it easier. So yeah, this is just going back on, and the teeth will fit in like this, and we'll probably have to fight a bit to get it back in there, but we will try. Alright, so now this has to go back in to where the needle bearing is, and we'll do our best to do that. It's okay. It's not going to stay on there anyways, but it doesn't have to. And now we just really gotta so got the IWE installed correctly now. It was just a matter of splining it correctly. You can tell it's splined correctly when you rotate the wheel. When you rotate the wheel, the whole thing rotates there, you can see. So we know it's splined correctly. Next step was just ensuring that the IWE is indeed working. So we hook up the Mighty Vac to the vacuum port there. It's kind of a different system because when there's no vacuum applied, it goes to 4x4 automatically. But when you apply vacuum, so almost 20, you can see it disengages and goes to two-wheel drive. So now that is no longer rotating. So the engine automatically creates that vacuum when you turn the truck on in two-wheel drive. And based on my diagnosis previously, like I said, the check valve, I tried the check valve, I tried the vacuum solenoid, traced it down to this IWE, and it wasn't even able to hold a vacuum. That would go up a little bit, up to the top of the 0 line there, and then come down immediately. So now we more or less, I think, have fixed the issue. See once we get the wheel back on. Okay, one other thing I want to mention here that was a real challenge for me was the spindle and the upper control arm. So getting the upper control arm into the spindle was a real challenge because the guy that owned this before installed the leveling kit, which in my opinion looks great, but it meant that when the truck was jacked up, this upper control arm was rubbing on this. So I had a real hard time applying enough pressure with the crowbar to get this to seat back down in there. So what I ended up doing was I put a jack right under here and released that jack, and that ended up freeing up enough space and pushing this spindle up into the upper control arm that I was able to have this push down, which meant that I could torque this into place without the bolt rotating. So that's an important thing to take into consideration. We've got so now I've got the dust cap on. So the nut under there is torqued to 20 foot-pounds. These two nuts, the tie rod and the upper control arm, are torqued to 85 foot-pounds. Now it's just a matter of jacking it up a little higher and putting on the lugs, which will be torqued to 150 foot-pounds. All right, guys, just took the Ford for a test drive. That fixed the problem. The IWE, it was a vacuum issue. At the driver's side IWE, no more grinding, switches between two-wheel and four-wheel, no problem. Tested it out with the Mighty Vac, it's holding the vacuum. So yeah, just a little recap. The Mighty Vac helps out big time if you're trying to diagnose a vacuum issue. I found that very helpful. The upper control arm and spindle, that was pretty tough, but just using the weight of the truck with a jack underneath made that much easier. The only other thing I had an issue with was getting the axle into where the needle bearing was. That was pretty challenging. Kind of had to rotate the wheel, try it from a few different angles. A second person really helped, having them rotate the wheel while I was pulling on the tie rods. Besides that, that pretty much wraps it up. So now that's dealt with, just upgrading the truck little by little, one thing at a time. Next thing I'll probably tackle is the exhaust manifolds. They're pretty rusted and worn and getting a bit of a ticking sound when the truck starts up. So that's the next task. Anyways, thanks. Come on. Good girl.